In a major coup, India managed to get China to sign on a BRICS declaration, virtually abandoning its all-weather friend Pakistan. The Chairman declaration has specifically mentioned for the first time Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed as dreaded terror outfits. Last year at the Goa BRICS summit, China had nixed India's move, providing a cover to its ally Pakistan's unholy intentions of harboring these terror outfits. 1 year down the line, Pakistan has been left out in the cold. Has a doklam rattled China dumped its friend Pakistan? That's our debate at Face Off at 9. I'm Maha Siddiqui. Here are our headlines. Major diplomatic win for India at BRICS. Pakistan's ally China accepts LET and JEM as terror outfits. Will Beijing now allow Masood Azhar to be declared a UN designated terrorist? Has China abandoned all-weather friend Pakistan? Our panelists tonight: GVL Narasimha Rao, BJP spokesperson; Aina Tangent, political commentator; Lieutenant General retired B.S. Jaswal; former Army Commander, Northern Command; Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat; Tariq Pirzada, political and defence analyst, joining us from Pakistan; and AVM retired Abid Rao, defence analyst. Politics over school topper and NEET opposer Anita's suicide. DMK calls all-party meets, says ADMK government is inept. BJP floats political conspiracy theory. No end to child deaths horror in Uttar Pradesh after Gorakhpur. 49 children die in Farrukhabad government hospital in 1 month for lack of oxygen. UP government resorts to cosmetic measures, transfers officials.
अब मैं CBFC में नहीं हूँ, अब मैं अपनी बिजनेस में हूँ और बिजनेस के हिसाब से जो मुझे चाहिए, जो एक सोसाइटी को और जो चाहिए मेरी फिल्मों में.
Former CBFC chief Palaj Nilani's hypocrisy exposed. All sanskars left behind as he promotes an erotic movie and demands no cuts. Star India grabs TV and digital rights for IPL. Pip Sony shelling out over 16,000 crore rupees to back the rights for the next 5 years. India and China speaking in one voice against Pakistan-based terror. That's got to be a first ever. Well, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba figuring on the BRICS joint statement signed off by China among other BRICS nations comes across as a major diplomatic coup by Prime Minister Modi. China and Pakistan have been united by mutual distrust of India. But in this move, do we see that China-Pakistan axis pulling in opposite directions? Here's the day's story.
A second massive diplomatic win for Prime Minister Modi, and it comes barely a week after tactful India-China negotiations diffused the Doklam standoff. This one seems bigger, for it sees China, Pakistan's much-touted all-weather ally, seemingly turning its back on what it had itself termed a higher-than-mountains, deeper-than-oceans relationship. Read para 48 of the BRICS joint statement, which China as well as the world's top emerging economies signed off on. They say they express concern on the security situation in the region and violence caused. The statement specifically mentions terror groups responsible: Taliban, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, and onto the Haqqani network, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. India wins a big battle just in convincing China of Pakistan's dual face.
Increasingly, there is a realization that you cannot have double standards in tackling this scourge. You cannot have good and bad terrorists, and it is a collective action. I would say that what has come out today acknowledges the fact that we must work collectively.
The move also coincides with the release of these pictures of Eid on Sunday. Jaish commander Usman Billah and his flock of militants in the Kashmir Valley ready to unleash mayhem. China condemning Pakistan-backed Jaish-e-Mohammed and others carries massive significance for India. For one, it comes despite India snubbing China's plans on OBOR and the Border Routes Initiative. Despite China and Pakistan being all-weather allies, despite Pakistan and China being actively engaged in CPEC, and it spells out China's agreement that Pakistan-based terrorism is a problem for the region. And beyond just China, it sends out a message from BRICS that Pakistani terror groups are now on its radar, that terror holds significant mind space of 5 of the world's biggest emerging economies, as Pakistan remains in denial.
Pakistan already told every country who had declared Pakistan helping terrorists or facilitating the terrorist groups in its soil that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism.
As of now, China's voice against Jaish remains dual-faced. A voice of determination to suppress at BRICS, but a technical hold on designating Jaish chief Masood Azhar a terrorist at the United Nations Security Council. The UNSC technical hold expires in November. Which way China votes then will decide whether it stands up to its BRICS commitment. For now, the signals are clear. Has China abandoned its all-weather friend Pakistan? That's the debate tonight on Face Off at 9.
First up, joining us live, Zaka Jacob from Xiamen in China. Zaka, first of all, take us through how India managed this coup. Take us through the backroom negotiations.
Well, basically, you remember this from last year's summit in Goa at the BRICS summit, where India had, till the very last minute, till the 11th hour, tried to include specific groups, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed groups that are operating from Pakistani soil and that target India and Indian interests, not just in India, by the way, but also Indian interests in Afghanistan. So India had tried for a very long time, running up to the 11th hour in the BRICS summit that happened in Goa. Finally, it had to succumb to Chinese intransigence, and you couldn't include Lashkar and Jaish in last year's draft document. Over the last 1 year, diplomats who deal with multilateral issues, who deal with BRICS issues, have been quietly behind the scenes working with the Chinese. In fact, I know at least a couple of them who have been camped out here in Xiamen for the last 2 weeks. They were also in Beijing on multiple occasions in the last 1 year, basically trying to convince the Chinese to agree to the wording, the exact wording and the phraseology that was used in today's joint declaration. And I think it's a big coup. I think you used the right phrase. It certainly is a big coup where you've got China to acknowledge a 5-country joint declaration which explicitly names these terrorist organizations that are operating from Pakistan. It also calls upon states to shun using their territory for terrorism that's directed at third countries. So if you look at, from all the way from paragraph 47 to about 51, 52, in that joint declaration, it talks about the entire spectrum of terrorism-related issues, not just naming these groups. It talks about FATF action. It talks about states not using territory to target other states using violent and terrorist means. So I think it's a very comprehensive document on the issue of counterterrorism.
But Zaka, does this now put pressure on China to stop blocking Masood Azhar from being designated as a terrorist by the United Nations?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. His resolution comes up for periodic review at the end of October. The Chinese continued their technical hold when it came up for review at the end of July, early August. So that continues for another 3 months. Now, here's the thing. Today's declaration doesn't in any way make it obligatory for China to change its stand at the United Nations Security Council Sanctions Committee 1267. But what it does is that it would sort of expose China if a month from now they were to continue with this duplicitous stand that they've taken at the UNSC. Because then India can turn around and say that, look, at the Xiamen Declaration they explicitly named the Jaish-e-Mohammed. And I think this whole distinction that the Chinese are making between the organization, the Jaish, and its leader Masood Azhar, I think is extremely tenuous. It's like saying, a multinational corporation that's been caught for serious violations. Let's say, for example, Union Carbide. It's like saying Union Carbide is bad. It caused the Bhopal gas tragedy, but Warren Anderson is a good man. I mean, that just doesn't cut it.
Absolutely. Zaka, also, coming as it does, today's declaration and the BRICS summit, on the back of what we've seen in Doklam and the standoff between India and China, is this win today for India even more significant, considering that a China that has been snubbed at Obor by India and has managed to get a victory of some sorts in Doklam as well? Could China have once again tried to nix this move of India?
Well, it's certainly, I mean, if you look at the last 1 week, last Monday we had the resolution of Doklam, which surprised everybody. And then this Monday you've had this significant joint declaration in which, the Chinese have basically accepted every position on the issue of counterterrorism that India had put forth. So in the space of a week, you've had two major diplomatic breakthroughs, both big positives for India. I've been speaking to a couple of people who are involved in these negotiations, and they're all very tight-lipped, but one of them said it would be disingenuous to not see the two developments, the resolution in Doklam and what happened today in the joint declaration, as isolated incidents. I mean, I don't think he was suggesting any kind of a quid pro quo, but that question was asked today to the Secretary East in the briefing, whether there was a quid pro quo of any kind between India and China for resolution at Doklam. The Chinese concede to including this phraseology in the joint declaration. The Secretary, of course, laughed it off, saying such a thing is absolutely implausible. But that strand is something that's being talked about, certainly amongst the journalists here as well.
Right.
And I think I'd go with the diplomat who spoke to me that it would be disingenuous to look at both of these as separate incidents and completely independent of each other.
Right, Zaka. Now let's dip into the debate now. Joining us on the show, GVL Narasimha Rao, BJP spokesperson, INR Tangent political editor, Lieutenant General retired B.S. Jaswal, and at the moment we are also being joined by Tariq Pirzada from Pakistan, political and defence analyst. I want to come to you first, Tariq Pirzada. Does Pakistan today feel betrayed or does it feel snubbed?
I am so glad you raised this question. Let's settle a couple of issues today. Number one, I am so glad that India was scared out of Doklam and Chinese carried a big
India
day.
was not scared out of Doklam, sir. You have your facts wrong.
Right.
You have your facts wrong, Tariq Pirzada. India stuck to its position despite repeated rhetoric from China. Mr. Tariq Pirzada, you have your facts wrong at the outset of this debate.
Disingenuous now. Let me use your phrase. Let's be honest to ourselves. Hold on. Number two, as far as India's effort to get Pakistan's name included into the joint communique, that was a big rebuff for India and a big win for Pakistan.
How was it a rebuff?
China said,
who has been snubbed here, Mr. Tariq Pirzada?
China
said
very clearly
that has been snubbed
the start
and abandoned by its all-weather friend China.
No, you're not letting me say. You cannot talk over me.
I'm interrupting you because you're getting your facts wrong.
Oh, please do not correct my facts because you don't know what the facts are. Let me tell you the facts. The facts are, may I please, the facts are that India was dying to get Pakistan's name included into the joint
communique. And why not, Tariq Pirzada? Why not, Tariq Pirzada? If Pakistan has been trying to wound India with 1,000 cuts, why should India not go out to the international community and expose Pakistan?
State of India, that they failed in their attempt to get Pakistan's name included. Number three.
Tariq Pirzada, I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you because you're completely turning this debate around by not answering my question, because today you have been abandoned by your friend China.
But you're not letting me finish my point.
So please answer this specific query. China has abandoned you. It has left you out in the cold. How do you feel today?
Let me answer. All right, one line answer. Pakistan and China are eternal friends until eternity, and you guys are going to dream for the day when we get split apart. That's not going to happen.
All right, Rajiv Dogra is also joining us, former diplomat. Rajiv Dogra, is this what you call friendship, where China is leaving out Pakistan in the cold today and has said that LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed, two terror outfits that Pakistan harbors, they have found a mention in the declaration today at Xiamen?
Well, I think your guest from Pakistan has reason to be upset, because there are two countries in the world today which China sponsors, and China is the so-called colonizer. One is North Korea, the other is Pakistan. and both are being condemned by international community
Isn't that
today.
a source of
One
concern
by the
for
UN
you?
Security
Oh my
Council,
God.
the other by BRICS.
That's a cause of great
please
pain for
ask
you.
this gentleman, please ask this gentleman, please ask this person to not to interrupt, because that is not how debates are conducted in India. They might be conducted this way somewhere else.
You know how to do the debates.
Basically,
I
he
have
has
seen you
reason,
before.
and
Mr.
many
Tariq
like him
Pirzada,
in Pakistan should have
allow
reason
Rajiv
to be
Dogra to
upset.
speak, please.
But there are many other Pakistanis who are extremely wise and who realize the direction, the wrong direction in which their military is taking Pakistan to, and they will be upset in a different manner about what has happened today in China at the BRICS meeting.
So let's go across to Abid Rao now. Abid Rao, do you think that China has simply used and today perhaps thrown Pakistan to fend for itself after Pakistan is virtually colonized by China?
Colonized by China, well, just like United States colonized all the India by
Mr.
getting all
Tariq
the
Pirzada,
airports,
that
all the
question
major
was for
bases,
Abid
and
Rao.
all the military installations
Tariq Pirzada, that
taken over
question
by-
was for Abid Rao.
Okay, I will suggest to the Indian panelists not to take such a myopic view of the situation. Look at what has happened in the world in last 30-40 years. The religious extremism has combined with political power. You look at America, there is this crusade war declared by President Bush against Iraq and Afghanistan. What is happening in Myanmar, the Buddhists, they are known to be the most peaceful people in the world, that they should walk barefooted so that insects don't get killed. See what they are doing to the minorities.
What is
there
the
is rise of
point you're trying
Hindutva
to
in
make,
India.
Mr. Abid
There is
Rao?
rise of Islamic
What is the point you're making, sir?
militancy in Pakistan. So all the world is going through this religious extremism, which is a very dangerous thing for a common man living anywhere. So I look at it this way, that the BRICS, or for that matter UNO, or any superpower which has any influence on the region, should look at the problem first, and if those are solved critically,
Abid Rao, that is the
people are given
constant
their rights,
justification that
all
is given by
militancy will
Pakistan.
cease to
I'm
exist.
afraid that justification cuts no ice at the moment. You continue to say Pakistan is a victim of terrorism itself. It's a victim
Also,
because it
yes,
has
that is also
created this
true.
Frankenstein monster which is coming to haunt it today.
This Frankenstein was created by America. ISS was created by America.
So now,
all these, most of these terrorist organizations.
So now you are an ally
Trump
against terror with
admitted
the US,
that
and
they have,
now you believe that
funded
even the US has
ISIS.
backstabbed you.
Mr. Abid.
No, there is that duplicity in everybody's statement.
I think the point is,
I mean,
there's
you are a
very good
secular
reason why the
country, but
Pakistanis
your
are
Prime
rattled
Minister
today,
believes
both
in
Tariq Pirzada and
Hindutva
Abid
and
Rao,
Hindu supremacy.
primarily
See what is
because
happening to your minority.
this comes
It's-
just
I'm
a
not-
week after
see, it's not
Mr.
a blame
Trump's
game that
speech.
we have to win
Hang on,
against
Abid Rao.
each other.
Abid
We have
Rao,
to
one
see
second.
it as a human
This comes
problem.
exactly a week after Mr. Trump's speech, where he literally dumped Pakistan and said that we're not going to do business with this country until this country mends its ways,
India
to the
has
point
any
that
pleasure at
the
this,
Pakistanis
but I
were so
look
rattled
at
that
it
they
the
had to
bigger
freeze
problem.
ties
You know,
with one of their
that is
biggest
more
benefactors.
important.
If you look at the
Otherwise,
amount of
humanity
money
will
that
kill
the
itself
United States has
in the
spent
name of the religion.
on Pakistan, both military and non-military aid, it's billions of dollars. So a big source of funding has dried up, and the biggest benefactor that they've had, China, on this issue of terror. I'm not saying that the all-weather friendship between China and Pakistan is over from tomorrow onwards. I'm saying on this issue of terrorism, China today has dumped Pakistan. I think there are very few friends and allies that Pakistan has, and that's the reality. Like I said,
We
Mr.
are
Trump, less
alive
than a
to
week
the
in that speech,
problem.
saying that putting
We are alive
Pakistan
to the
virtually on
problem.
notice,
We are
and now
conscious
China, its biggest
that this is
benefactor,
not the
dumping
best
Pakistan.
situation.
I think these are two body
If you
blows, if you
solve
ask me,
Kashmir problem,
specifically
for
on the issue of
example,
terrorism.
these militant organizations will die their own death.
One second, I want to go
They will
across
die their own death.
go across to General Jaswal. Now, General Jaswal, do you feel today that naming Pakistan will also shame it, because that doesn't seem to be the case? They can go into the defensive mode immediately.
You see, it was decided that there will be no bilateral issues discussed, and Pakistan in specific will not be mentioned before the conference itself. But look at the departure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. There is a total departure from what was there in Goa, where there was reluctance to mention anything dealing with terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
Absolutely, yes.
And today, 17 times it was mentioned, and out of that, the terrorist group, besides Daesh and ISIL, you had Al-Qaeda, you had TTP, you had Haqqani, you had JEM. So
again, two outfits that Afghanistan has been very explicitly saying are indulging in terror against Afghanistan.
Just can I? Now, you see, these groups are operating from Pakistan. So you don't have to, name the obvious country. The underlining statement which is there subsequently in the document that any country which is sponsoring, laundering money, providing weapon or its territory for use of terrorism should be held accountable.
Yes.
So Pakistan, without naming, it has been conveyed that it has to be held accountable.
Absolutely. That is very...
That's a big victory.
Absolutely.
China has its own compulsions.
Absolutely. That's very clearly mentioned, General Jaspal, in the declaration itself. I want to go across to Jivel Narasimha Rao now because, sir, the question is whether this will put enough pressure now on China also to stop blocking Masood Azhar from being declared a UN designated terrorist.
Maha, I think over the past few days we have seen how there has been a significant shift, not just a nuanced shift in China's approach. And in a year's time, like I think like others mentioned on the panel, in Goa last year, China was not willing to really go so far to mention the names of even terrorist organizations. Today, it leaves, there is no surprise. The whole world knows where Lashkar-e-Taiba operates from. The whole world knows where Masood Azhar lives and where Jaish-e-Mohammed operates from. So all the terror factories of the world are actually running in Pakistan. They have their base in Pakistan. And only last about couple of weeks or 10 days ago, President Trump clearly told Pakistan on its face that you are actually harboring the terrorists that we are fighting. And you are receiving billions of dollars for us to hide the terrorists that we are fighting. So I think it can't get any worse for Pakistan. I think never in the history a country had been really cornered in the manner that Pakistan today is cornered as a safe haven for terrorism. So after having named Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, I think certainly the China will reconsider its position. They have been putting holes on this for several rounds now. But I think next time around when the matter comes up in UN, I'm hopeful. Certainly, I think there would be a rethink on this at a time when other permanent members of the UN Council have been calling for a ban on Masood Azhar.
Yes.
I certainly am hopeful that there will be a rethink on this.
Absolutely. And you talked about, Trump. So let me put that question to Tariq Pirzada. After Trump's reprimand, Pakistan went crying to China. Who will it go to now? No friends left?
All right, here is the answer. First of all, on the issue of Trump and his rhetoric, now Mr. James Mattis has issued a statement that he says, and that is the real policy of the United States.
So what the president says is not the policy.
Hold on.
So what the president says is not the policy according to you.
You can't talk over me. No, you cannot talk over me. Let me finish. The Trump statement has been corrected by the Secretary of Defense, Mr. James Mattis. James Mattis said 1 day ago, yes, corrected. Because he has the authority,
the
according to
is the
Mr.
head of the
Trump.
government in the United States. Let me educate you. The
guys,
defense secretary
you guys
works
have
for
no
the president.
Maybe in your country,
you might have a puppet prime minister and somebody else controls the government. But in the United States, the defense secretary works for the president, not the other way around.
That's a childish talk. Let me tell you why I am saying that.
That's a childish talk.
You know,
Any class 4 student will tell you that in the US, the entire cabinet works for the president, and the defense secretary is just one of the members of the cabinet. I mean, don't give me these juvenile arguments.
No,
how can a defense secretary overrule a president?
You guys are being amateurish. You don't understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah?
A day before James Mattis was sworn in, they were all in the White House. And if you have any memory, I wish if you have, the statement made by Trump was that when it comes to security issues, Mr. Mattis has the right to override my statements. This is on records. On record, you don't know what you're talking about.
Pirzada,
let me go to the next part.
You're talking like someone who's lost
let me
his
go
mind.
to the
This
next.
is basic civics lesson in US governance. The defense secretary can't overrule the president. Maybe in your country you have a puppet prime minister. I don't know. Maybe Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif still control the levers of power. But that's not how it works in the United States. No, I think we need to expand this debate. Now let me go back to
Rajiv Dogra.
I think what we really need to understand, let me
go to the next point.
How is it that in the space of a week,
let me go to
from
the next
Doklam,
point.
where there's been a significant
This is not
resolution,
fair.
much of it on
You
India's
can't
terms,
interrupt me.
and today this
You can't
joint
duck my
declaration which
point
explicitly
and
names Lashkar
run-
and Jaish,
run your,
how has India managed to
point
secure
making,
these diplomatic victories as they were within the space of a week with a country with whom we've had very difficult ties on the NSG issue, on the Masood Azhar issue, lots of issues between Beijing and New Delhi.
No face to show in the whole world. You guys have been humiliated in Doklam, and you're lying to the Indian people.
I'm asking Rajiv Dogra. Thank you, Pirzada. I'm asking Rajiv Dogra.
Well, I think if that is Zaka, I can't see you. But if that is Zaka, you've made a very valid point. That what is it that has changed scenario in 1 week? After all, there was tension between India and China, and there are other issues which are in the forefront. North Korea for one, and Russia itself is under sanction. So it is not a very happy circumstance that these 5 leaders met in China. But look at the way it has turned around. So it shows maturity. It also shows a certain resolve. It may not all be there at one go, but the fact is that one positive step has been taken in the direction of asserting that these 5 countries, which are called the BRICS, are now having a voice which should be listened to by a responsible world, because they are not going to be distracted by abstractions like Pakistan. I think that is one big message which has come out, much more than even North Korea, because the paragraph on North Korea was relatively mild, whereas the ones on all these terrorist groups which are based in Pakistan and trouble the region was extremely harsh and strong. So I think the transformation has been laudatory. It is something which needs to be worked upon further, and it was quite in line with the objectives that China had set out, that let's strengthen BRICS, and let's also improve the governance internationally in favor of BRICS.
Right, but will China walk the talk as far as Masood Azhar is concerned? I want to put that question to Einar Tangent, who's been very patiently listening to the debate. Einar, no, Tariq Pirzada, I want to put that question to Einar Tangent. Einar, India has said that there can be no double standards in fighting the scourge of terrorism. Does that mean China will now walk the talk on Masood Azhar as well and stop blocking the technical or rather banning of Masood Azhar or designating him as a terrorist?
I think quite clearly Beijing has weighed in on the issue of terrorism. The issue of what you're trying to achieve using terrorist acts is not acceptable. They're saying anybody, any group, any sponsor who sponsors terrorism will not be allowed into a civilized discussion or growth. They will be called out for what they are, that is, terrorists. But you should keep in mind, it is not good to see all your neighbors through the eye of distrust and hatred. Pakistan will not go away, nor will China, nor will India. There has to be a way in which they can come together. What you see here is Beijing trying to balance a very, very difficult three-cornered relationship between itself, Pakistan, and India. China has no desire to infringe on the internal politics of any country. This is what they have said.
But Einar, I want to interrupt you there, because how is not calling a spade trying to balance things out in the region? Masood Azhar is the chief of JEM. If JEM is a terror outfit, naturally Masood Azhar is a terrorist too.
And if Beijing has called out his group, he's the head of that group, it's probable that it would be logical for them to say yes and stop blocking any attempt to designate him as a terrorist. But I have the sense that people think this is a cricket match or a Bollywood movie. This is very serious. I was dismayed when somebody said, oh, the North Korea thing is very small in comparison to this. That is not true. There are a number of hotspots around. Terrorism is a problem. So is a nuclear attack. Keep a sense of perspective. This hatred that between India and Pakistan is not helping either, nor is it helping the world.
Mild compared
there are
to
indications.
The 2 paragraphs on Pakistan. So I think you are misinterpreting. Let me also, it is very good for Western so-called academics to give lectures to India that if you bleed, it doesn't matter, you should be patient. But when a white man bleeds, then all hell must break loose. Those double standards have to go. And I think your guest, wherever he is, has to understand this.
I have no idea what he's trying to refer to, but my point is that if you see your external relations through the fulcrum of Pakistan,
you should listen carefully instead of speaking.
Everything that you're doing. Sir, I didn't talk over you. Please do me the courtesy of not doing it to me. It's a simple equation. How can these three countries move together?
If you're trying to spread this information, I will not allow it.
Show some modicum of respect, if not for yourself, then for your country.
No, I will not. I will not.
Let me finish.
I will not, because
I know you will
because
not.
What you're saying is
that
Indian blood or Indian people, if they die due to terror, they should just be patient.
Do you speak for India's
sorry,
people?
That standard has to change.
Is your name Modi?
Standards certainly need to change, and that is what India has been stressing on clearly. GVL Narasimha Rao, but can GVL Narasimha Rao, India at this point trust China to walk the talk?
No, I think I want to come into the argument that was going on. It's all very well for Mr. Einar to start preaching us sitting in China. And I think if he were to live here in this country, he would understand the kind of sacrifices, the kind of cost that we have paid because we had a very, very cruel neighbor. I think you can give us lectures sitting wherever you are, but certainly India has always shown the patience. India always wanted to have best of relations, but you have a crooked neighbor which simply does not want to live in peaceful coexistence. I think how long can one tolerate? I think he should, if he is from the US, I think he should try and preach to his government there. I think not to really wage a war against terrorism in rest of the world. I think no country can afford to have its internal security, to have its borders not to remain safe. I think Pakistan has been an aggressor, has been bleeding, has been exporting terror. I think you should have I think they have all the organizations that are named in the statement. All of them have their bases in Pakistan. I think it really is hypocritical for anyone not to really call Pakistan for what it is and try and put both Pakistan and India on the same pedestal. It is a pedestrian kind of an analysis. It does not really speak. It does not reflect the real situation on the ground.
All right, General Jaswal wants to come in. Go ahead, sir.
All right, here is the answer. Look, the issue is.
I just want to say that there is Mr. Pirzada, I have been asked, please allow me. I respect you, please. Please kindly, I did not interrupt when you were talking. I would like to, please, yes, please. Yes, please. Okay. She has addressed me. Let me answer, please. Thank you.
Please.
The fact that the world over, there is a growing narrative against terrorism, in Europe also for that matter, because once they started suffering terrorist attacks, US of course has always been suffering, there is a growing narrative, and that is why the pressure is coming on Pakistan. As far as the epicenter of initiation of terrorism is concerned, and a country which is suffering affects the most is India, you know, Pakistan initiating, India suffering. So we know best what is to be done. We have the feelings. This gentleman from, I don't know where, which country he is from, I'm sorry, he should have said this is not a cricket match of Bollywood. It's a serious matter. Yes, it is a serious matter. And we understand the most because we are in this epicenter. China today, how long is long? Can China keep supporting Pakistan? It'll itself. Now we talk about North Korea, 90% of the oil business is with North Korea, between China and North Korea. Its fabric is being manufactured over there. So there is a lot of complications which are there, and China,
that's a self-serving
countries
talk.
are realizing,
Cheap,
please,
that's a cheap shot.
Tariq Pirzada,
Mr. Pirzada,
Tariq Pirzada, clearly,
Mr. Pirzada,
Tariq
please.
Pirzada, clearly your reaction today, is betraying a sense of Pakistan being rattled by what has happened at BRICS.
India has to show some level of respect for itself.
Please, Mr. Pirzada, I will not allow you to speak. I'll keep talking over you if this is the way you behave. Please, I request you maintain some decency.
Tariq Pirzada, you've got enough chance to speak.
Beg your pardon?
You've got enough chance to speak, Tariq Pirzada, but you're trying to put out wrong facts.
My points
feel the pain there.
My points are still there. You never allowed me to
Tariq Pirzada,
I'm making statement.
General Jaswal, can I just hold you on there for a minute? Because Tariq Pirzada is trying to tell us that he's not got an opportunity to speak. So Tariq Pirzada, answer this question. Now today, since Pakistan has clearly been snubbed by China, after Pakistan has completely sold itself out to China, and I'm not saying that, Tariq Pirzada, this is a Dawn report, a respected media house of your own country, which has given exclusive CPEC master plan, which clearly says that thousands of acres of agricultural land will be leased out to Chinese enterprises. A full system of monitoring and surveillance will be built in cities, that there will be a terrestrial distribution of TV networks disseminating Chinese culture completely. Pakistan. This is not a propaganda. This is by your own Dawn newspaper, a report by them saying that Pakistan has completely been colonized by China. Today, do you think China has double-crossed you?
All right, let me come back to the earlier point. I ignore your point altogether.
And why should you do that? That's a question I'm putting to you. Shouldn't you be answering it today?
Yeah, I am answering if you let me. Number one, as long as the issue of Jammu and Kashmir and the liberation movement
you are still not answering my question, Tariq Pirzada. China has left you out in the cold today. Answer that question. Are you feeling betrayed? Are you feeling snubbed? Do you feel China has double-crossed you?
Pakistan. China is on the side of Pakistan. Number one, China just, rebuffed the United States. Russia just rebuffed the United States on the issue of the statement that was made by Mr. Donald Trump, that stupid man in Washington. So you know where China and Russia stand
US were
in relation to Pakistan. Who told you that? This is a stupid Indian propaganda.
You are taking aid from the United States, and you are not using it in the right direction of anti-terror activities. Rather, you are promoting terror from your soil.
If we were an ally, they would not threaten us. Obviously, that means, use your head, that we are not an ally.
then stop taking the aid from the United Nations. GVL Narasimha Rao, does this not smack of absolute double standards by Pakistan? Today, they are saying that we are not allies of the United States in the war against terror.
No, I think it shows how rattled they are, and it's really rare that you find guests from Pakistan speaking in this language. I don't know. He might get pulled up by his own establishment, because most guests who come from Pakistan, they don't speak themselves. They don't speak their mind. They only parrot what the establishment wants them to talk. And what would you say about Pakistan's relations with China? What is your relation with China? Now that all your terror outfits have been named today, what would you call China? Is it a friend or no?
It's an ironclad relationship. You guys are jealous of that. That's the problem.
All right, I think Abid Rao wants to come in. Abid Rao wants to come in. Go ahead, Abid Rao.
Look, Maha, we need to take step number one first, that all this militancy is a result of some political injustice, some community being targeted, and you look around, you will find tomorrow if Rohingyas take up arms against the Myanmar people, who would you blame?
Nonsense.
If Kashmiris are holding arms against India, who should you blame?
About our country.
And they will need
you have
moral
no
and
business
financial support. Al-Qaeda was created by America.
You have no business to talk about our internal affairs.
Tomorrow, if these people operate somewhere, you can't see picture in half. You have to see the total picture. First, political injustices, they have to be addressed. Then only militancy, it will die its own death.
This excuse,
you are telling half-truth to the Indian audience.
Pakistan of them being the victims of terror. And I just pointed out that it's a Frankenstein monster created by themselves.
Neither apologetic. China is our friend. You remove your terrorists from Afghanistan who are operating in Balochistan. Things will settle down. Balochistan will be at peace. We have our terrorists sitting in India. Give us back those people. Your government doesn't want to approach.
Mr. Pirzada, please ask your Pakistani guests to keep quiet when I am speaking. Now, as far as the issue of human rights is concerned, I am glad they raised it. In fact, Mr. Musharraf, their former president, he admitted yesterday, a couple of days back, that he had killed one of the most prominent Baluchi leaders because he felt he was arrogant. So the cost of human life in Pakistan is that cheap. If you ask any Baluchi, if you ask any Pathan today in Pakistan, he feels that he is an alien in his own country. So the issue can become very grave for Pakistan if they continue to be in denial all the time. The only thing on Kashmir which remains to be settled is the past part which they have occupied. If that is the one which they want to settle, we are ready. But as far as good neighborly relations are concerned, there is still time. They should learn a lesson from what has happened today in China, and they should realize that they are really friendless in the world now.
Right, absolutely. At least
President Trump, whom they are abusing and berating, he has said very clearly that, look, this is the last chance, otherwise I'll come and get you. So Pakistan should really prepare themselves for an entire change in their attitude and their behavior. Otherwise, the doomsday is very close for them.
Right, absolutely. Pakistan's very rapidly losing friends there today. It's all whether friend China too signed on a declaration that called out all the terror outfits that are operating on Pakistani soil. I'm afraid we've completely run out of time. Many thanks to all our panelists for joining us this evening. The social media is abuzz saying that you are not sanskari anymore. How would you react?
See, मैं संस्कारी था, मैं हूँ, मैं संस्कारी रहूँगा. संस्कार हमारी भारतीय देश की जो है एक परंपरा है, उसको आप अलग नहीं कर सकते. मेरी जो जिम्मेदारी थी, मैंने जिम्मेदारी निभा दी. अब मैं CBFC में नहीं हूँ. अब मैं अपनी बिजनेस में हूँ और बिजनेस के हिसाब से
तो
जो मुझे
नीलानी
चाहिए,
जी,
जो एक सोसाइटी को और जो
सेंसर बोर्ड के चीफ तक ही लिमिटेड रहते हैं।
देखिए, जो एडल्ट सर्टिफिकेट पहले देता मैं, और इस फिल्म में मैं भी सिर्फ एडल्ट सर्टिफिकेट चाह रहा हूँ, और इसके अंदर मुझे ये जो मैंने कहा ऑब्सनिटी नहीं है, वल्गैरिटी नहीं है, लैंग्वेज नहीं है, तो जिस फिल्म में ये सारी चीज़ें ना हो और एडल्ट फिल्म एडल्ट फैमिली देख सकती है।
लिपस्टिक अंडर माय बुर्का को आपने कहा कि ये संस्कारी नहीं है, ये तो रिलीज ही नहीं हो सकती इस कंट्री में।
देखिए, अगर मैं
ये डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स नहीं थे आपके क्या?
अभी अगर जो है इसके अंदर नहीं, अगर वो मैं यूए मांगता तो मेरे डबल स्टैंडर्ड की बात कर सकते हो आप, और ये सर्टिफिकेट जो है मैं नहीं दूंगा, कोई नई सीबीएफसी ऑफिसर जो होंगे वो मुझे पिक्चर मेरी पास करेंगे, और मेरे पास अथॉरिटी नहीं है कि मैं अपनी फिल्म को पास करूं, और जबकि मैं सीट पे भी नहीं हूं। तो आप ये क्वेश्चन जो है सीबीएफसी से कर सकते हैं, नॉट विद मी।
पलाश नीलानी जी, आपने अभी बोला कि अब मैं सेंसर बोर्ड का चीफ नहीं हूं, मेरी कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं है। एज अ फिल्म मेकर आपकी कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं बनती है, आपको लगता है? और आप अब कह रहे हैं कि अब
मेरे पास जिम्मेदारी है पब्लिक तक पिक्चर,
मेरे पहले जो डायरेक्टर्स
मेरी जिम्मेदारी
वो क्या बिजनेसमैन
सुनिए, सीबीएफसी की जिम्मेदारी नहीं है